I'm live? Good.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Children and Families Committee open. This is actually my first opportunity to chair this committee, although I was appointed at the end of June. We really didn't have an opportunity to have a meeting. And I'd like to welcome my colleague, Senator Serino.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, Senator Montgomery, who's the ranking member, can't be with us. She's in conference. But we do have her voting sheet. We also have a voting sheet from Senator Bonasak and Senator Prasad. Let me introduce, for the first time, the counsel to the committee, Rebecca Sheehan, and also the clerk to the committee, Samantha Bernstein. And I'll ask the counsel, Rebecca, to start us off.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. We have 11 bills on today's agenda, so we'll try to be as efficient as possible. If I'm not speaking loudly enough, please let me know. The first bill on is Senate Bill 398 by Senator Gallivan. This is an act to amend the Social Services Law in relation to transmitting certain information to the local Child Protective Services. This bill requires the Office of Children and Family Services to determine and then notify the appropriate local Child Protective Service agency if the subject of an allegation of child abuse or maltreatment is the operator of a licensed daycare or similar facility, or if any person named in a report is a known sex offender or has previously been the subject of an indicated report of abuse or neglect. We have a memorandum in support from the New York Public Welfare Association. This bill passed in 2015 in the Senate by a vote of 62-0.
Questions?
No.
Motion to accept?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the bill is reported. The next bill is Senate Bill 544 by Senator Gallivan. This is an act to amend the Social Services Law in relation to providing relief on the statewide central register clearance fees for tax-exempt organizations. This provides relief on the statewide central register clearance fees for tax-exempt organizations, and that the fee of $25 shall not apply to tax-exempt, not-for-profit child care providers registered as a federal 501c3 charitable organization. This bill passed the Senate in 2015 unanimously by a vote of 61-0. We have memorandums in support from the YMCA, the Federation of Protestant Welfare Agencies, the New York State After School Network, and the New York State Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs.
And we're joined by Senator Bonasak. Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Second.
So moved.
Okay, the bill is referred to Finance. The next bill on is Senate Bill number 1422 by Senator Carlucci. This is an act to direct the Office of Children and Family Services to examine, evaluate, and make recommendations on the availability of daycare for children and providing for the repeal of such provisions upon the expiration thereof. This bill directs the Office of Children and Family Services to study and report on the availability of child daycare for working parents. It adds a new section to direct OCFS to conduct a study that includes an evaluation and recommendations for the availability of child care services in New York State. OCFS shall review the impact of the lack of child care upon women in poverty trying to enter the workforce. This bill passed the Senate unanimously in 2015 by a vote of 63-0. We have memorandum in support from the YMCA and the Empire Justice Center.
Questions? Motion to approve?
Move the bill.
Thank
The bill
you.
is referred to Finance. The next bill is Senate Bill 1615 by Senator Avella. This is an act to amend the Social Services Law in relation to increasing from $300 a month to $600 a month the rent subsidy payable to a foster child living independently. The purpose of this bill is to increase this housing subsidy for foster youth who are leaving care. This housing subsidy has not been increased in more than 20 years, during which time rents throughout New York City and the state have increased many times over. This bill passed committee last year in 2015 by a vote of 6-1.
Questions? Motion to approve?
Motion to move.
Second.
Okay, this bill is referred to Finance. The next bill is Senate Bill 1617 by Senator Laval. This is an act to amend the Social Services Law in relation to the return of a child to the care and custody of his or her parents, or guardian. The legislation would require the court to establish a transition plan for the return of a child who's been in the custody of social services and has not been visited by their parents or guardian for a period of 6 months or more. This bill passed the Senate in 2015 by a vote of 60-1.
Questions? Motion to approve?
Move the bill.
The bill is reported. The next bill is Senate Bill 1902 by Senator Bonasek. This is an act to amend the social services law in relation to requiring investigation of all reports of child abuse made by a hospital, medical, or law enforcement personnel. This would provide that when the state central register of child abuse and maltreatment receives phone calls from medical personnel, law enforcement, or from social workers or psychologists employed by or affiliated with hospitals, such telephone calls shall not be screened by the hotline, but shall immediately be referred for investigation by the Child Protective Service Agency. The bill further provides for the Child Protective Service of each county to establish procedures for communication and cooperation with local hospitals and law enforcement to better protect the interests of at-risk children and to better provide essential services to their families. This bill passed the Senate in 2015 by a vote of 62-0.
Senator, do you want to comment on your bill, or?
We've passed this bill
Right.
every year for many years, and it doesn't move in the Assembly to our regret. So I think it's still laudable. We're still going to push the bill. And this was a case where a young boy was brutally tortured by the mother and her boyfriend. It resulted in the young boy's death. The call came to an operator, and the operator did not refer it to the mandated reporters of social services. As a result, nobody responded to that death. So I thank the chairman for moving the bill, and we're going to keep trying.
Motion to accept?
So,
Motion to
yeah,
Motion to move.
thank you.
The bill is referred to Finance. The next bill is Senate Bill number 2122 by Senator Kennedy. This is an act to amend the social services law in relation to disclosure of information pertaining to a child abuse and neglect investigation. This bill would prohibit prosecuting any city or county social services commissioner for disclosing information pertaining to a child abuse or maltreatment investigation if done so in good faith adherence to New York State law. This bill passed committee in 2015 by a vote of 6-1.
Any questions? Motion to accept?
Move the bill.
So
Bill.
moved.
Bill is reported. The next bill is Senate Bill 3247 by Senator Montgomery. This is an act to amend the social services law in relation to security deposits collected by child daycare providers. It requires daycare providers to escrow security deposits in excess of the value of 2 weeks of provided services. This bill passed committee in 2015 by a vote of 7-0.
Questions? Motion to accept?
Move the bill.
So moved.
Bill is reported. The next bill is Senate Bill 4183A by Senator Croce. This is an act to amend the social services law and the executive law in relation to the provision of criminal history background checks free of charge to mentoring programs operated by not-for-profit corporations. This will direct the Division of Criminal Justice Services to provide criminal background checks to not-for-profit mentoring programs free of charge. This bill passed the committee in 2015 by a vote of 6-1.
Questions? Motion to accept?
Move the bill.
So moved.
The bill is referred to Finance. The next bill is Senate Bill 4315A by Senator Ritchie. This is an act to direct the Commissioner of Children and Family Services to conduct a study pertaining to child abuse and neglect fatalities that occur subsequent to a prior open investigation. The purpose of this bill is to study the incidences in New York State in which child abuse and neglect resulted in a child's death, to explain any commonalities among such instances, and proffer policy recommendations to reduce such incidences in the future. This bill passed committee in 2015 by a vote of 6-1.
Questions?
Move the bill.
The bill is referred to Finance.
Thank you.
The last bill on today's agenda is Senate Bill 4967A by Senator Croce. This is an act to amend the domestic relations law in relation to child custody when a parent is deployed on active military duty. This provides that the issue of military deployment shall not be considered as a factor in the awarding of custody where a suitable child care plan is presented. It provides, upon return of a military member from deployment, the immediate reinstatement of the child custody order in effect prior to such deployment. The bill passed committee in 2015 by a vote to 7-0. However, there was one memorandum in opposition from the Lawyers for Children. The main issue with that bill was regarding the immediate reinstatement of a prior order. The current law currently requires a judge to review any such change in custody upon the return of a military member so that it would be in the best interest of the child. Again, the bill passed committee in 2015 by a vote of 7-0.
Question, motion to accept.
Move the bill.
Thank you.
Bill is reported.
Thank you. That completes our agenda, and I appreciate your attendance here this
Thank you,
morning.
Mr. Chairman.